Hi guys, Counterfool here with my Walking Dead Season 3 Episode 3 review. Episode name is Walk With Me. And if you continue watching this, remember there's going to be spoilers, not just from this episode, from past episodes, maybe just a fair warning, and some spoilers from the comic books. So if you have not finished neither of those, or you have interest in finishing them, I recommend you not watch this. So, I always want to say season for episodes. Episode 3, called Walk With Me. Um, Episode, we don't see Rick or any of the prison survivors that they're called right now. Which I think, I want to go on this right away, but I think it was a nice way to do this because it makes it easier for the casual fans to understand more of it instead of doing half the episode of Rick and half episode of the governor. So I think this episode should have been like this, and it shouldn't have been changed because it kind of rushes through it, but it kind of sets a little plot line for the Woodbury community. And I, I saw a couple people complain about how they didn't see Rick in that, but it offers a new, um, what's the word I'm looking for? A new look to it. Now we see this community, um, and how, I'll explain this a little bit later maybe, of how Rick and the governor, and they're both their communities, which I'm going to call them, kind of like. So it starts off with a helicopter, which we saw in season 1, big question around that, and what it meant. Comic books fan know that from the first second because you meet the governor when the helicopter crashes, and that's what happened here. But this time, Andre and Michonne get caught there. They look at it first, want to run away, kind of just stuck there. Pretty much nothing happens. Merle ends up finding them. Your old buddy Merle. There's something I want to talk about him too sooner or later in this video because I have a little bit of theory on him. Um, Ends up it's pretty much she's kind of dazed when they go in there. You already see kind of a brutal type of atmosphere when they hang some walkers or biters like the governor likes to call them or that community. I've only heard the governor say biters. So kind of setting a little bit of a tone, and what they did really good was they always one-upped everything that made the group kind of a sketchy type of community, made the governor look sketchy. They one-upped to every scene that you showed something, and I think they played that really well. So ends up in the hospital, so-called hospitals. Andrea's better now after, and Merle comes in asking about Daryl, of course. And this is where the theory kind of steps in, a prediction you could say. I think Merle still looking for his baby brother, like he calls him. He's got a prosthetic hand with a bayonet. Um, I think he. I'll move on because I'll explain a little bit later in another scene. I'm looking at the recap just to refresh it. But yeah, Andrea's fine. They meet the governor. Michonne already skeptical of the place. She wants a weapon to. She wants to be alone, and she doesn't want to be the person that is being controlled. So she's a very, very wise person, as you'll probably learn in the next couple episodes, because she's not falling for the governor, not in no lovable way, but I mean, she thinks there's something wrong with him in the community. And then another little scene here that people just forgot about is Andrea finds out and Michonne that everyone's got the virus. So this shows every community either has found out, maybe they went to the CDC, or it's every other community probably knows about it now. And so yeah, it was a little scene that really was interesting. Now that Andre knows, but that was kind of just played off a little bit. She didn't care about it. She's like, okay, whatever. Keeps moving on. Like the group when they first found out in season 2. Um, Ends up taking him, showing the place. Not most of it because it's nighttime. Take him to the room. Uh, Next, pretty much nothing happens after that. They wake up. This is, but yeah, they wake up, go around town. Uh, they always got one person looking at them. It's a big buff dude. I don't know his name yet. I know in the comic books they say his name. I think maybe I'm just calling him Big Buff Dude. Like the big buff dude. He's got like Jerry curl and everything. Always looking at Michonne. Something I think that might be a little bit of a plot line there too. So it's another interesting to look at. Uh, it seems like the governor's little posse, you can say, as you'll see as I'll talk about a little bit later, is kind of afraid of him, but they don't want to stand up to him. So I think Andre and Michonne might offer that way out of the community. So that's another interesting line. That's what I thought. Governor meets the helicopter guy that was drove it, who ends up telling him where his other National Guard members are, and think think he's on the brink of death, anyways. I don't know. And then here's a very important scene. This is where they one up the governor's kind of sketchy personality. He is a lab, a secret lab, you could say, with a mad scientist. Messed up the scientist word. His name is Milton, and they have Michonne's pets' heads in the lab. He kind of explains to them what Michonne did to the heads, cut off the jaw, which really good makeup. I actually watched a video of how they did it, and their jaws are there. It's really good. Greg Nicotero, I think is, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he won an Emmy in makeup, and he does a really good job. Um, that's why he's one of the people that make the show kind of really awesome. Is the way he does the makeup. Goes to him. But yeah, we meet the mad scientist Milton. Uh, no, I don't want to call him mad scientist, but he seems mad scientist because he's kind of afraid of the governor. So he's got Michonne's pets' heads, testing it. Like I said, explaining to the governor how she found a way to maybe control them, which leads me to think that the governor may have his comic book explorer here, uh, Penny. I think it was maybe his kid or niece. It's one of those two. I gotta refresh myself on that. But that made me think maybe the end of this episode ends with that, which I'll explain a little bit later. They go to lunch, no, not breakfast with Michonne, Andrea, Milton, Governor. Pretty much they try to get some information out of him. It doesn't work. Michonne is still quiet. Michonne doesn't want to say anything to him. Once again, distrusting the governor. Um, they still plead together. Michonne does at least, and Andrea looks like she probably wants to stay. And I would too after going what she went through. Michonne being a lone wolf, I understand her side too. Uh, they Andrea ends up asking questions about the pets she had. In the comic books, it's I believe her boyfriend and her brother. I think we'll end up finding it out next episode. Then the next scene, the governor tracks down the squad, Wells squad, the leader of the group, the pilot. Well, the pilot, I don't know, he wasn't. I'm not sure if he was a leader, but the pilot's group and the governor ends up killing him. Pretty much, he's like, "Hey, we're going here to save you," and he just shoots him. And they have this slow motion shot of the governor's face, and it was so creepy. It just they one up it again, making him seem more of a crazy dude. I forgot. I had a little kind of explanation to that face. Um, well, I don't know. And then at the end of this, when they get done killing him, they all like just looking at him like scared, worried, maybe like this dude's crazy. Which he is. The next couple of scenes prove that. But he shoots those guys, not even giving him a chance. Takes their stuff, and then he ends up going back to his Woodbury town and say, "Oh, they all died." So we know he's willing to save the group. That's what him and Rick are like. They are willing to do anything for the group. They're willing to lie. They're willing to kill. They're willing to go to the limit to save and protect the group. Um. So yeah, that's where they're like. Um. Now going into Merle here, I kind of want to think to go back onto that, but I think Merle. What my theory is that he sees Andre's alive, so it gives him a little bit of hope that Daryl's alive, and a spoiler for next episode, which is not really a big one. He's gonna go to the farm. He asked the governor if he go to the farm. He's looking for Daryl. He seems like the governor's second hand henchman, which is kind of a pun because he only has one hand. Um, but I think my theory slash prediction is instead of having that plot line where Merle is gonna end up killing T-Dog or doing something to that group to get revenge, I think if he sees his brother and his brother's alive, he starts to get trust for Rick, and maybe Daryl will change his mind, but it might be rough in the beginning. So my general prediction slash theory right now is Merle doesn't die. I think he ends up joining it back with the group, but that could change because the show could boom change it like that. Um, so that was just my little thing, and I think the other part of the group might do that too. I think they're a big part of the Governor Rick plotline. Comic books, I think Martinez, the um, Glenn of that group, some people call them. I think he's the one. No, that's not Martinez. Never, the one with the baseball bat. That's Martinez. And then the Asian of that group, Asian Glenn, whatever. I don't know their names, so I'm kind of being stereotypical here. But he kind of, there's this general feeling that little tight group right there, the henchmen. I think some of them want out, some of them are gonna, it's a really really weird situation. It's really hard to predict what happens. So that's where I'm thinking Merrill kind of his plot line comes out is he ends back with the group, and maybe he takes one of those people with him. So now for the ending scene. After watching this episode and how you could say kind of a season 2 type episode, I really like the episode. There's no lying there. That how do I explain? I thought in the beginning, at the end of it, there was going to be some weird ending. There was going to be some ending that's been like, wow. And there was. There was. Going to this episode, I thought either one, I said earlier he was going to have his zombie daughter slash niece, whatever, I don't know, in a room. And you see him in this scene, last ending scene. I think the woman in his room, the naked woman in his bedroom, was the girl that was, is his secretary. And then you see him look at his family, his wife and daughter, what I'm come to believe that are probably dead. Um, but yeah, he goes. This is where it separates Rick and the governor. Why they're not alike. This is their differences. He goes in the room, sits down, he's like, all pissed off. He just takes a drink of whiskey. He's like, and they pan out, and you see a fish tanks of zombie heads. And that was in the comic books. There was the two things that people thought were gonna happen at the end of this episode was either he saw the kid zombie that he's feeding, or you saw the fish tanks with heads in it. And people were like, "Oh, it was kind of a terrible, ending." It wasn't. It really blew. If for casual viewers, be like, "Wow, this dude's crazy." And the way they went this way, they what they did with the episode was they're like, "Hey, Rick and Governor are alike when it comes to the group. When it comes to personalities, the Governor is a wacko type of dude. Um, fish heads. I always want to say fish head. He has zombie heads in these um, fish tanks. I'm blanking on that, and some of them are moving. So that sets that little. Once again, they one up that from him just straight out killing National Guard people and stealing their stuff to the fish tanks with the zombie heads in it. And it sets that little vibe slash mood that he is a guy. And there's been so many things popping up there. Like, I was watching Talking Dead before this, and he's like, the executive producer's like, he does it to accustom himself with a new thing. He's got to go to the limits of killing people that other people might have never done. And he's trying to familiarize himself with this situation by looking at zombie heads and looking at it and be like, you know what? I got to do this to save them. When I look at this, I was like, yeah, that dude, they're definitely gonna make him go crazy. And I think that sets up the theory of Miro and the rest of his henchmen. Some of them that want out, and on maybe help Andre and Michonne get out. Because next episode, I think Michonne's on his trail right now. Michonne is like, I don't trust him. Andre's like, I do trust him. And we don't know about her. Maybe she's trying to get information we don't know about it. But Michonne is on his trail, and I think next episode will be a very, very big episode. It's the half season point, even though it's only 8 episodes. Episode 4. In the previews, no spoiler. If you don't want to watch the previews, skip ahead to like 16 seconds. Not 16 to 16th minute. But the next preview, she finds blood on one of the trucks, and that's, I think, where she finds out the gun. And also, we do see Rick next episode, so they're gonna start mixing together, which is gonna be even better. So getting back on the aquariums, fish tanks, what do you want to call them? Those walker heads are live. They're moving. I think his scientists found out how to keep them alive. His mad scientist, Millen. Uh, so yeah, and 3 heads were important in that. In one of the fish tanks, the first one they showed was Michonne's pets, and then the one that's all the way in the top is Wells, the pilot that gave him the information of um, where where his other group mates are, and so he kills him. And when he sees his face, when they pan off and look at his face, he knows what he's got to do next, and that's kill Michonne or recruit her. And I think that's where you see badass Michonne. You see Andre realize the governor's a bad guy. So that's my tidbit of predictions. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and you will see. Uh, I'll see you next week. Probably try to last week's, but it was kind of an interesting episode and a lot of explaining to do. It was kind of like episode 1. So I want to thank you guys for watching. All my links below: Twitter, the subscribe button. Comment what you thought about the episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you do enjoy them, you should probably subscribe. Yeah. So once again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week.